Hi guys, and welcome to another show. You've got Jay, Jeremy, and myself here tonight. I hope we can all stay online because there's a bit of a storm starting around here. How are things with you two?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm up on site at the moment for another few days and back home on Monday.
I think we have to actually start sending Jay the messages a little bit in advance because of the delay.
Yeah, I saw the
I've
queue of
had.
about to talk, so I just held on a bit just to give him some time, and it's just a very awkward silence.
I remember the old days when you
Well,
used to call England and there'd be this massive delay. It's worse than watching a cheap Chinese movie, but just up north, it's still as bad apparently.
Yeah, we haven't got any bad weather this week.
Well, that's good because we've got it down here.
I leave the rain here. Just stay here.
It's been one of those muggy days down here today, eh? And I got home from work and it started to rain, but you know those big fat storm raindrops? That
Yes,
really
I
rainy
was
smell?
cupping them in the face while riding home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
they
we had
sting.
those. But it didn't look too bad above, but if you look south of where we are, the storm was really starting to brew up, and
Yeah,
not long ago we saw all the lightning and everything, but it's still a way off, so I'm not sure if it's going to hit us while we're recording, but we'll see.
yeah. Sideways rain at 100 k's an hour on the freeway is not fun.
Not on a motorbike, it's not, no.
No,
Like bloody pinpricks.
that it is.
Uh,
So we have a topic that we're discussing tonight, and it is the black-eyed children or black-eyed kids.
that's it, and
A lot of
not the
people know
black eyed
this.
peas.
No, not the black-eyed peas, thankfully. So what your class is what, cryptozoology? Would
No,
it be?
I would. I know we've discussed it several times, but I would probably put it more under urban legend because there's a lot of stories about it, but not a lot of proof.
So what do you think it would need to fall under that category of cryptozoology? More
Crypto
evidence?
cryptozoology is usually animals, not humans. You're talking Bigfoot, Sasquatch
Ah,
or
okay.
Loch Ness monster, things like that. So
Yowies.
Yowies, the skunk ape, the Yeren. Basically, we're describing big apes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't call
yeah,
them names.
that's where cryptozoology comes in.
Uh,
These are a different kettle of fish, and you could probably class them in several different areas because we just don't know what they are, who they are.
yeah, it's paranormal. Is it, you know, several different things they could fall into.
Well, yeah,
Well, it's got a lot of
it
paranormal to
could be
do
more.
with it, with
Yeah,
the backstories.
it could be more than one as well.
Yeah.
More than one, as in.
Well, each individual case could be a completely different situation where there'd be different causes for it. Some might fall under like ghost type stuff. Others may fall under alien hybrid type things, and yeah, you name it.
Poltergeists?
Again, I don't know. Poltergeist active. Well, poltergeist is the
Well,
German word for noisy spirit. So
Yes. Well, they do say that these black-eyed children do like to play games.
yeah, but you can see them.
you look at their eyes and they actually resemble the greys pretty much.
The what,
Well,
sorry?
that is one of the stories. One of the
The
stories is
aliens,
that
the greys.
yeah, yeah. One of the stories is
They're all
that
very pale, blonde hair.
this time difference things are pain.
It is a little bit, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, yeah. No, one of the stories is that when you talk about alien abductions and they're doing experiments and everything like that on women, and
Yep.
some say they're pregnant, and then there's other times when people pregnant ladies are abducted, and then when they come back, the babies are gone, and
Ah.
many think that one of the many stories about the black-eyed children is that they're sort of alien hybrid, crossed with humans.
Yep.
But I don't know why they'd be coming back to Earth and knocking on people's door the way they do.
Well, life will be pretty lonely out there, so I'm pretty sure I just want to play some games and make some friends.
Might be looking for a place to
have you
stay.
seen some of the stories?
What was that, Go?
I said, have you seen some of the
They
stories?
might be looking for a place to stay.
Yeah, I have. I've seen a couple. Yeah, not the nicest of stories.
I think the original one wasn't even a house. It was a guy in a car park, and he had these kids coming up, and it was like, "Hey, Mister, can you give us a lift home, or take us somewhere?" I can't remember the details of it, but he said you'd normally, they just look like normal sort of, I think, sort of 8 to sort of 12, 13-year-olds,
Yep.
and you don't generally think much of that. Although I suppose back then you didn't. In this day and age, you got to wonder if you're going to get mugged or something silly like that. But
Well, yeah,
he
it's not
said,
the 80s anymore.
no, it's not. No, but back then, uh, he said he didn't think much of it. Not until, because they had hoodies on,
Yep.
and it wasn't until he caught a glimpse of one of their faces, and he said there was no whites of the eyes; they were just pure black. And he said the amount of dread that went through him. He goes, it triggered that fight or flight response, and he was out of there. So it's very interesting.
I think there was others as well. I think from around Texas, of stories of actually letting the kids into their house, and things did not go as well as it should. I think there was animals involved, cats. I'm pretty sure, from what I can remember.
Really?
I'm trying to I'm trying to remember at the same time. I had them all jotted down.
Yes, Jeremy
Yeah.
had a computer malfunction.
I did. I had to do a fresh install and lost a lot of stuff, unfortunately.
At least you got all the little baby
When you
photos.
think about it, the animal part of it, animals can detect spirits, ghost spirits.
Yes.
Cats and dogs will pick up on it before a human will. So it kind of stands to reason that they'd freak out around a black-eyed kid if they're an actual paranormal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we could go on. I know there's several people every time when we go out on a ghost hunt and stuff like that, and if the conversation turns to the black-eyed kids, there are a lot of people that get very freaked out, even though they've never actually seen one.
Lee,
It's hey, yeah.
my missus.
Oh, there's a few. There's more than just Lee, but the the big one for me, there's, like I said, there's lots of stories, and some of them are really interesting. But the big one for me was of a Marine in America. Now you know how they have those housing complexes which are all for the military around the base.
Yep.
So
The
literally every
married
house,
daughters.
I don't know, but literally every house within a few blocks, it's all military people and stuff like that. And this guy, he said it was the middle of the day. It wasn't even nighttime. And he said he noticed these kids were sort of watching from a distance, even though he was not on duty. He was on his downtime. And he said it wasn't until he got a knock at the door, and he went to go and answer the door. And he said even before he opened the door, there was a massive sense of dread. He goes, it put chills down him. And he said, being a military person, they're always taught to trust that first instinct, because that's usually the one that's going to keep you alive. And he said at that point, that instinct was not to open the door. But obviously, knowing that the kids were around, he said he opened the door even though the fly screen was locked. And these kids they start off fairly nice, but the heads are always sort of covered in the hoods and things like that. And he said there was something not right. He said they were very pale. They were basically overdressed for the weather, these thick hoodies, and it was a warm day. And he said he couldn't do it. He didn't want to open the door. And when he said no, he said that's when they started getting a little bit more aggressive, and they would bang on the door, try to open the door. And like he said, he goes, dudes, he goes, I'm a military guy, don't do it. But he said in the back of his head, he's going, what's going on? He goes, he was fighting every instinct not to shut the door, and ultimately that's what he did. He shut the door, and when he went into the living area, he goes, they were at the window, and they were just banging on the window then, and he ended up calling like base security or somebody like that to come out, and by the time they got there, the kids were gone. And what I got from it was, this is a highly trained military person who's trained to kill, trained to trust his instincts because they're going to keep him alive. And every instinct that he had all the way through was not to get near these kids, which basically any military person wouldn't have any problem with a couple of kids. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
what is it?
Always trust your gut. If you feel like something's wrong, it usually is.
Yeah.
And coming from Jay, who is a military person, he can understand exactly everything that I was just talking about. Now,
Yeah.
it just makes you wonder that if that feeling came through before he even opened the door, there's got to be something something's been projected out of them, if you know what I mean. Because for him to get
it's
that,
said to say there's a bit of hostility as well with them. People not answering them, they get fairly hostile.
yes, and that happens quite regularly in a lot of the stories.
So yeah, the one that I was trying to explain before and made myself look like a complete idiot. It was the black-eyed children were standing at the door of this house, it's a couple in America, and they proceeded to ask to use the phone. They need to call their mother. Their mother is worried.
Yep.
That's what I was looking at, because the dog was going off its head at the door, and the male was trying to figure out how the children knew exactly where he was, as he was hiding under a window, and he could see them glancing towards his direction. And as he ignored them, they continued to get a little bit angry and continued to ask to use the phone, and have got a fairly hostile with him from what I can see. They pretty much said, just let us in to use the phone. If we wanted to hurt you, we would have broken in by now. Luckily, the guy didn't actually let them in.
Sounds like Rockingham.
There was the lady trying to recollect it, and her husband pretty much turned around and told her that it was nothing. It was just a dream. Go back to sleep.
And that's okay. So that's a whole other thing. Is, are they pushing these thoughts and these feelings on you rather than? You
but if he's witnessed, but I mean, if he's witnessed this himself, being conscious, and his wife has gone, "What's going on?" And he's turned around and said, "It's just a dream." How, that's how you share that parallel.
Are they able to astral project themselves?
Would not have a clue. There's no information on that.
There's
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's a complete mystery.
Nothing.
But that is a whole other thing. I mean, that's a whole other show entirely, astral projection. But yeah, it's a possibility because there's some sort of psychic thing happening there. The fact that they are scaring the crap out
Telepathic
of
or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And what?
And they do say that aliens are telepathic as well. So
here's one for you. Go. You know where Staffordshire is?
England?
Yes.
Bulgaria?
No, not a Staffy. No. So apparently in 2014 there was stories and sightings of the black-eyed children at a haunted pub in Staffordshire.
Yeah. So
they still claim to see them there.
Well, that's another thing as well. We talked about aliens and paranormal things like that, but what about heading into the more demonic kind of?
See, would you class them as demonic though? Like,
well,
I know they say good
themselves.
without evil. I wouldn't say demonic. There's probably harmful things at play, but I wouldn't go demon or demonic sides of things.
All right. Okay, maybe demonic possession.
Yeah.
I
don't know. It just doesn't sit right having it, as a demonic thing. I suppose we don't really know what demonic things really look like.
I've
to put the label on it.
I've been in 3 exorcisms. Not been exercised myself, but I was there to film them. And while the pupils really dilated out and went really dark, the eyes didn't fully
actually
go black.
Sorry, Gary, to cut you off.
Yep.
Now that you say that, just before I forget, that was the same look that Jay gave you and myself, sitting in the quarantine station's mortuary, while he was looking at you across from the slab before something else happened to little Jay. That was the eyes look. That was the black eyes.
That, I think, was some video of that.
It is on video. It probably, if it hasn't gone behind me yet, it might come up later. But that was the look, now looking at it and thinking about it that you've mentioned it, that we got from him.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
No, your face looked drawn out and long, and your eyes were just shadows.
I made the comment to Jeremy that when I was looking through the infrared camera at the time, and that's when I asked you to step away from the slab, and you just did this rocky thing, and I had to sort of, Jay, step back, and that's when you stepped back, and the look on your face, it was you, but it wasn't you at the same time.
It was weird, man.
I don't recall any of that.
Oh, we got the footage to prove it.
Yeah, Gary's quote was, "Jay, you're not yourself at the moment. You don't look like yourself."
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't have any recollection of it, personally.
But, okay, but when we were talking, as I was mentioning about talking about possession kind of thing, like maybe not demonic, maybe spiritual possession, whatever you want to call it, but these kids go about their thing, knocking on the doors, and maybe once they walk down the street around the corner, and then whatever it is lets them go again, they might not have any recollection of what's going on.
True.
That's a possibility too.
Very true. And that, I suppose that negative possession, they can go topsy-turvy pretty damn quick.
Well, yeah. I mean,
they actually heard of,
yeah.
And, you can have some spirits say one thing and some say others. I'm not here to hurt you, but hey, who knows?
Yeah, but there are tricksters out there as well. So
that's what I mean. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. But I don't know what their agenda is to get inside people's houses, whether it's their safe comfort zone and stuff. And to my knowledge, I don't know of anybody that actually let them in.
See, I suppose it would be like the whole thing with the Chinese and their law. You suppose you call it law, and their beliefs about having the thresholds and having the step so high so that the bad spirits can't get in without being welcomed. I suppose the same sort of thing. Once they pass that threshold, they're free to come and go as they like.
Well, now you're stepping into vampire types territory as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I can agree with that to an extent, but that wasn't what I was getting at.
No, but what I'm saying is there are so many different possibilities for this that it's hard to pinpoint anything down.
And then you look at it, it's like, well, hey, what?
Yeah, like that other.
I think we've lost Joe.
I think we might. I know. I've dropped in and out a couple of times while you were speaking, and I'm like, oh no, it's not catching up.
Yeah, Jay's sort of stuck on screen at the moment. And once he starts moving, there he goes, he's moving again. Jay, what you got to say? We're waiting.
People don't want to look at my head anyway.
Well, they are. So, what were you saying before you froze?
It's like that other thing with evil. People will put salt around their threshold so that evil cannot pass. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, people have been using that method for, I suppose, investigating and ghost hunting for decades.
Yeah.
Crosses and the like. It gets a bit much, but some of the things and the extent they go to.
A lot of the problem when you watch a lot of the TV shows is that they do their prayers to Michael the Archangel, and this and that and this and that. And what happens is all the groups now, they watch these shows and they go, these are the magic words that'll protect us. So they go out and they say it, but it's not. It's the actual intent.
But even still though, Gary,
hang on. This is a magic lens cap. Okay?
It brings the darkness.
If I had full faith that this magic lens cap would protect me, I'm talking about real faith that it would protect me. That's what it's all about. It's not magic words. It's what's going on in your head.
It's psyche.
Yeah.
The thing you got to ask though is, do you believe in it or do you know it?
What, the magic lens cap?
No. Oh, yeah. That, as an example, yes, sure. Do you believe in it, or do you know that for a fact it's going to, help you out?
This is a Sony magic lens cap.
Exactly.
And no, I don't believe in that.
I
I do have things that I do believe in.
100%. But and look, it doesn't always work 110% anyway. As said before, look at that night we were in the morgue.
Yeah.
We white lighted. We did what we had to do, and still something happened. It's not a fail safe 110%. Like, holy crap, we're not small people, the three of us.
No, I know. But
And-
okay, let me just step in for a sec.
Yep.
You know,
Little J
that
smaller
night-
than any of us.
No.
I was trying not to mention names.
With this, don't mention names. But aforementioned person, he was a lot more open than what the rest of us. We had our guards up, so he was the natural one. And without going into details, you remember what happened with him?
Well, the three of us our size to pin him down, and it still struggled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Mark.
Oh, yeah, and Mark,
as
yeah.
well.
We can't discount that guy.
I have the video of that as well.
Yes, I've got that somewhere. But you just don't know those intentions, like, whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, can you imagine? So what I was getting at was the size factor. A 16-year-old, or say what they say, 6 to 16-year-olds. So if they're about 13 to 16 years of age and about the same size and stature as what this other person is, can you imagine the havoc they could wreak, knowing that it took three of us to subdue someone? That's a scary thought, especially if they're meaning, I just want to call my mum, make sure everything's all good. And then bam, it clicks, you're screwed.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary to think about. There's that. I don't know why, but every show we ever do, we end up referencing movies and things like that. But there's a new film out which is about the Black Eyed Kids, and
The Black Eyed Kids is...
it's called "Don't Let Them In."
Oh, because I say the Black Eyed Children and the Black Eyed Kids have, I think there's been movies and books previous.
Yeah, they are, but this is a new one, and it was only shot, I think, 2019, 2020, something like that. And the
I think
quality
Children
of
of the Den was a Black Eyed Kids one.
no, again, that's
Yeah,
just
but you
another
thought
movie
you
with
just
kids
thought
with black
Children of
eyes.
the Corn was as well.
There's difference between
Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen them.
there's been a lot of differences between kids with black eyes in movies and movies about the black eyed kids. And this particular movie, it's about a couple of kids that messing around with radios, and like, I'm not sure if they pick up EVP stuff, and there's a sort of hint that there could be some UFO type activity as well, which are both valid parts of the Black Eyed Kids lore. And then, of course, the Black Eyed Kids come into it. So I'm interested to see how they hypothesize how it all works out and things like that. But, in reality, when you talk about soldiers getting freaked out by these little kids, there's got to be a lot more to it than just little kids, I mean, okay, going off the topic just a tiniest little bit, there's another very valid legend out there, which is about the Men in Black. Now, people refer to them as being very strange, very tall, very pale people, usually with big eyes, and that's why they sort of wear glasses and things like that. But people who've seen them without their glasses on, in some instances anyway, have reported that their eyes were totally black. So, other Black-Eyed Kids forebearers to the Men in Black. Because nobody seems to know where these people get their information from. Somebody will talk about... there's been cases where people have had UFO experiences and they haven't told anybody about it, but these Men in Black have turned up. So if you haven't told anybody about it, how do they know? Unless they're tied in with the craft or the beings that are actually being witnessed.
Yeah. Well, as you were saying before, when I mentioned the thresholds about saying get into the whole thing of vampires, that's another thing that people are saying they're connected to, could be connected to as well. Extraterrestrials, vampires, ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of makes it, a little bit more believable, in a sense. Not that it's not unbelievable, but
no.
I'm
There's just
open-minded to anything.
pardon.
I said I'm open-minded to anything.
Oh,
Any
look,
possibility.
you have to have some reasonable doubt, but that's human. You know, you have an open mind, but you've still got to have skepticism.
That's where I term the phrase the healthy skeptic.
Yeah.
You have to be skeptical of everything, but you have to be open to the possibility at the same time.
Well, you have to be, and you've just got to, you got to stamp out possibilities. That could be this, and this before it even comes to the thought of this is paranormal.
Yeah, that's it. I took a photo, oh God, years and years and years ago, and it was when we were investigating a hotel, and it was just a photo. I was getting the camera settings set up, and it just so happened to take a photo of one of our members walking down some stairs. But because the shutter speed was a bit slow, when it actually came out, it was almost like a translucent black shadow person walking up the stairs. And I thought, I'm going to put it up on the WAPA page just to see what people say without giving any context other than this was a photo taken at a recent investigation. And it went off. Everybody was going, oh, you've got a shadow person, this, that, this, that, this, that. Once there was about 60 odd comments on there, I put the comment saying, guys, this wasn't done to fool you guys. It was just a simple mistake. It was so-and-so from the group who was walking up the stairs. It was a malfunction in the camera, or it was just a bad camera setting as I was getting it set up. And everybody was like, oh, yeah. So people are very excited, get very excited about the possibility, sometimes too enthusiastic, and they want to believe everything. So...
But now it's come to a point where those paranormal groups putting photos up. It's quite the polar opposite. It's not that's lens flare, or not that's dust, not that's lighting, not that's this, and it's like, yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
but now, it's like the whole,
yeah. Each one of them, they're all photos and things like that, which give you something that you can work out about. But these kids with the black eyes, nobody seems to catch any footage of them.
There's really been no documented encounters with them. It's just hearsay. I mean.
And I've got a Ring doorbell, so I'm not that I'm hoping they come knocking on the door, but if they do come, I hope we catch them on video because they ain't coming in. But it would be
you got a Ring doorbell. They don't know what doorbells are, man. It's from the 80s.
Well, even if they knock on the door, as soon as they get anywhere near us, I mean, I've got I've got cameras up everywhere anyway, and they're all motion active. So
well, I know what I'm dressing. I know what I'm dressing Peyton up for Halloween now.
Yeah, go on.
She can come knock on your door. She'll be walking by then.
Oh, see, that's just terrible saying things like that because she's so cute. You'd let her in.
See, that's another thing. That's another thing with possession. You'd see and be like, not that I'm wishing anything ill upon my daughter. That'd just be absolutely ruthless and mean. But the whole of, being possessed, if you want to call it that, by something that you just don't know. Like, it could be a family member or a friend at that door. How do you know? Like, how do you know, man? That just makes it 10 times scarier.
And here's another thing I want to put to you, right? You know how there are no real reported cases where people have let them in?
Yes.
There's lots of reports about people saying don't let them in.
Not letting them in. Yes.
That, my thing is, what if the people who may have let them in have disappeared? You'd never know about the black-eyed kids. You'd never know there were black-eyed kids involved.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be gone.
Cameras. They're just people that disappeared. And you look at people that disappear just out of thin air.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, how many?
How many black-eyed kids are in the Kings Park?
I don't know, but I know we're talking about going out there and doing a visit there one night because that's location anyway.
I'm actually thinking Nangara Pines as well.
And that one would be what we should do actually when we go out there is do a live. If we can get internet connection there, we'll do.
You will get internet connection out there. I can tell you right now, it will not be stable. Things will happen. By things, I mean anything can happen. I've had it personal there myself. I've had cars not wanting to start. I've had phones not wanting to work. Yeah, it's just whatever wants to go wrong at that witching hour out there will go wrong.
All right. So we're out in the middle of the Nangara forest. The car suddenly won't start, but the headlights come on, and right in front of the car are two kids with black eyes just looking back at us. What do we do?
Yeah, I'm bringing guns. No, I'm joking.
Run.
Is the car an old Chevy?
No, the car will be my GQ Patrol, so it shouldn't break down.
Not Christine, then.
No.
No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the bloody
Look, I've
kids in front. I mean, yes, some cars you might want to go, oh, I'm not leaving you, but
look, the Nangara Pines has a lot of activity, lots. There has been
murder over there over the years.
there's been that, there's been suicides. Look, sorry, Gary, it's way off topic. There's areas out there that we will pick up on stuff, and you will see shadow people running through the trees. There's a spot out there that I know the tree where we actually found someone hanging in. Not nice of things. I know through there I get the chills every time. Whether that's something mental that I've got in my head, or it's something that someone else will be able to pick up afterwards. Like, it makes you think though out there after seeing all this sort of stuff. What is going on out there? You know, are there black-eyed children? Is there other phenomena going on? What else is at work through there?
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, black-eyed kids. I mean, we don't know what happened previously. I know the first reports of the black-eyed kids, as we know them today, happened. I think it was in the 80s sometime.
Yeah, 1980s.
Oh, I think we lost Jeremy now.
It must have been it made most tabloids. 80s. No, I'm
Yeah.
still here.
Oh, you broke up a little bit, but
1980, sorry, was the first tabloid coverage.
yeah, and that sounds about right to me from what I sort of have heard, because obviously floating around the traps with the paranormal and stuff for over 40 years now.
Well, from what I've got here, it says while tabloid coverage of these creatures claimed tales black-eyed children have existed since the 80s, most sources indicate that the legend originated from 1996 postings written by Texas reporter Brian Bethel on ghost-related mailing lists.
Yes, I've heard that name. Before.
Brian Bethel.
Another thing to think about, right? You go back to places like ancient Egypt. Now, it may seem like it's off topic, but how many of those ancient Egyptian little figurines and things like that have
got black eyes?
I was just about to say that it's the eye shape and the shadow. You know, it might be reaching for straws there, but who knows?
No, that ties in again with all other stuff, because you go into the ancient Egyptian stuff now. There's the pharaoh Akhenaten, who I think he was married to Nefertiti. He was supposed to be the most beautiful woman around at the time, and they're the parents of Tutankhamun. I think that's who it is.
Tutankhamun.
Anyway, the child one.
Yeah, Tutankhamun.
Yeah, but reports of him is of how he looked was that he had a very elongated head. His features were all weird. He had very cat-like features about him, which tie into, you know, what
eye
say
shape
about the aliens and those almond-shaped eyes, which a lot of people talk about with the black-eyed kids as well. So if you tie the ancient Egyptians to aliens, then you might think there's a good connection between the black-eyed kids and the aliens as well.
Yeah, that.
They do have aliens in their hieroglyphs and spacecraft.
Yeah. And that they are, like I said, no one can definitively say whether they're just a mob of not very nice kids, bullies and things like that. But it's weird that when you do hear about them, there might be a 14, 15-year-old with like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old. Now, everyone that I know, when we were that age, if we were 13 or 14, we didn't want to hang around with 8-year-olds. You know, if your little brother was hanging around, it's like, oh, go away. So
I didn't have a little brother, so we're good there.
That in its own right is creepy. The fact that these two age groups are hanging out, and then you add to it the faces covered over, and obviously ultimately the black eyes and that weird demeanor and that foreboding presence that kids just shouldn't exude like that. You know, it's very Very, very weird.
Apparently, sorry, Gary, to cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off.
Through the UK, there was a heap of tabloid headlines about the black-eyed ghost children as well in 2014. Yeah, some of the pictures they've used, I'd love to know where they actually got them from. It's like, you look at them, it's like, all right, that's meant to scare people.
Now, you think about it, right? When these reports happened way back in the 80s and things like that, if you think about kids trying to fake it, only in those days, it was only like movie houses and big production companies that had access to those, the contact lenses and things like that, whereas now you can buy them off eBay or anywhere. So it would be a lot easier to fake black-eyed kid stuff in this day and age than there would have been a while ago.
Sorry, so that place in Staffordshire, the Haunted Pub, it was where did I see it? I just saw it. It just popped up.
Don't say the old Ramshead or something like that. Or
it just popped up. Where'd it go?
It's not the Ram's Head Inn.
No. Was supposedly one of the most haunted places in the UK.
Yeah, well, the Ram's Head Inn was.
The Four Crosses Inn.
The name rings a bell, but yeah,
the pub is in an area. It's in an area of Cannock Chase. Well, the pub went for sale. Well, I think it might have been sold for £325,000 back in 2014, and that was knocked down price. 10 bedrooms, a bar, and a restaurant. Nobody wanted to buy it because of the paranormal things.
Yeah, I know. Before we came over here, Mum and Dad were looking at buying a country pub in the UK, and I remember going with them. I was 12 years old, something like that. I was already interested in the paranormal at that stage because what got me into it had happened previous to that, and it was like they were sort of half and half whether to come to Australia or whether they were going to buy a country pub and run it. And so we went and looking at this one, it was about an hour out of town, and typical English pub. I mean, the street is literally 30 centimetres from the bloody pub wall, but they said, and this will be your bedroom here, and it was at the back, upstairs. And I remember looking out, and then over the little hedge, which they had the backyard, and then the little hedge, and there was a bloody cemetery there. And I said to Mum and Dad, nope, not back then.
See, I would have been the opposite. I would have said sold.
No, you just cut out and you're back.
Well, we'll see how it comes out on the recording anyway. But so
everything just went really fast for me. I must have cut out a little bit with this weather.
Yeah, as I said, because we've got a storm going on. I mean, it's not super bad at the moment, but there's a lot of electrical disturbance in the air, so I don't know how that's going to play with the signal. We'll see how we go. Everyone's gone quiet again.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I know when we get storms up here, the internet just drops out instantly all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, so what do you think? What do you think they are, or what the most likely of the?
You can't really narrow it down to one box.
That's what I said right at the start. Remember?
You can't. You just can't. Because that's anything from extraterrestrials to vampires to spirits and ghosts. Some even say shapeshifters. I don't know, man. It's a hard one to. Could you put it under like creepypasta?
Yeah, I think that ultimately that's what they do for.
Unfortunately, until somebody actually is able to record it, we're never going to really have any idea what it is.
No. Now, if you look on the internet, on YouTube, and you look at, there's a whole load of videos on what they call the creepiest Ring doorbell or video doorbell videos. And I'll tell you what, we're talking about the black-eyed kids and how creepy they are, but there's a hell of a lot more stuff which is real people and things happening which the creep level is ridiculous. So
Yeah,
one
I'll have a
day
look when
we
I ring
might
on
catch
your
that video.
doorbell.
What was that?
Said
What's
have
that?
a look when I ring your doorbell.
Mate, when we were in Queensland, I remember getting an alert on my video, on my phone,
Yeah.
to say that there was somebody out the front, and you'd rolled up on your bike just to check on the place for us. And I'm there watching
Yeah.
you walking around doing your thing.
So
That wasn't creepy with your little German helmet on and all this other stuff, you know. I reckon the neighbours would have been going, "What's going on here?" But that's what I'm saying, you know. The people who let them in, we haven't heard of them. So, did anything happen or not? You know, the people who've said no, you're not coming in. We hear about them.
So, on a
It's
tangent,
pretty weird, eh?
on a tangent with the black-eyed kids, have you also heard of the white-eyed kids?
I have.
Yes, in the aspects of they believe that the white-eyed kids are the ones that control or oversee the black-eyed children or kids.
I
I
haven't
haven't actually
heard
heard
that.
of it.
I haven't heard that.
Hmm.
But full white-eyed kids would be just as creepy as the black-eyed.
Well, yeah,
kids.
well, they say unlike the relatives of the black-eyed kids, they don't need permission to get inside a victim's house. Instead, they suddenly appear inside, where they then emotionlessly stare at the witness without an iota of emotion.
Okay, so if they can just instantly get inside a house, we're talking teleportation, you're talking time travel, phasing
telepath-
through.
Teleportation, brainwashing, hypnotism, mind control.
Because if you talk about, right, there's this thing called phase, right?
Yep.
Everything in the here and now, time travels linear. Well, it doesn't, but for the sake of the conversation, everything's linear, everything's moving in a straight line. So we are all in existence with each other. We can touch each other because the matter's all there in the now. Now, it may fry your brains a little bit, but what happens if something turned up which was half a second or a second out of phase with us?
Yeah.
Because while we could see them, the physical aspect of the matter is not in the same phase as we are, so they could technically pass straight through, which could be an explanation for being able to walk through stuff. Because what they say is, everything, and this is scientifically proven, that everything has its own vibration, walls and everything. You know, I think it's the faster it is, the more solid it is, the slower it is.
Yep.
Like water and things like that, you can pass through them. So if you can alter the vibrational frequency or speed of something, you could technically be able to pass through it.
Oh, hang on. Sorry to be a pain then. Jay, you were saying that you don't remember a certain part of the morgue.
Yeah,
I just
no.
found it. I just found it.
Yeah, I don't actually recall what you were talking about, but I have seen it on the video since.
Yeah, and you look at the picture.
And I don't recall that part. I've got no memory of it. I remember after it and what happened with
There he is, right
the other team member,
Oh, if I move that way.
but
That does not look like your head.
I don't remember Gary talking to me or telling me to move away or whatever.
So you'll be able to see this playback on the video. Obviously, you can't see my screen at the moment, but it looks like you, but it doesn't look like you.
That's a hard thing to try and explain. That it's
Well, not really.
physically you, something else.
Anybody that
knows.
anybody that knows better. It's you look at it and go, yeah, it could be him, but it's not him.
Mm.
But then also on that same night, the team member that was affected greatly, he doesn't remember it either, and neither did the female team member when things happened to her as well.
That is correct.
That one, I know we're going off topic, but that one, it defies explanation, because that team member that we're talking about, she needed knee surgery because she could barely walk.
Help to walk, yeah.
And she came out there almost like a bloody Olympic sprinter.
Running around like a school kid chasing another kid.
Yeah, so...
She was like Usain Bolt.
Well, there was a definite disconnect between the brain and the body at that point because,
100%.
and what was blocking that connection or what was
But
interfering with that connection?
does that also come down to fight or flight?
No. No, that's not a fight or flight thing. That was she was influenced or controlled by something. It's like something else.
I understand the situation that was there. It's trying to check boxes.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be a fight or flight reflex is you personally being confronted with a situation where do I run or do I stand up and fight? It's not something that you consciously think about. It's something that just happens.
Yeah.
Now, with what happened to her, I don't think because there were other things going on with her as well,
Lots.
which are completely separate to that as well, which takes away from that fight or flight. There was definitely some sort of influence going on, spiritual influence.
Look, to be honest, I possibly think there still is, but they've come to the point where they don't realise it anymore. There were several people, and those, I think it was 3 or 4 people, and those same 3 or 4 people, you ask them if they want to go back, they will not hesitate and say yes.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be no second thought whatsoever. Look, I'd go back, but it'd take some.
You can better prepare yourself next time.
Yes, 100%. You know what you're going in for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I do what I do, because I want to know. So
yeah, I'm not saying that
whether something bad happened to me or not, I'd still want to go because I want to know. I want answers.
As we all do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and the black-eyed kids, I would like answers about that, but I honestly don't think we will ever get them. I'm looking at the security cameras now, just in case.
Well, with the white-eyed children, witnesses report of not feeling anything odd with their conversations with a white-eyed child until they vanish into thin air. See their eyes. Many claim that they have seen the children stare at them for weeks or even days after the initial encounter. They also find handprints on their car windows or walls or doors, implicating that they were being followed.
Mm. And the other thing that I find absolutely fascinating about this is a lot of people. See, there you go. There's a good picture there. A lot of people talk about feeling that feeling of dread and all of that before they even see their eyes. So what else? You know what I mean? I mean, naturally, if you saw somebody with black eyes, it's going to trigger something in you because that's just not normal. You don't see that every day. But if these people have been affected by them before they've even seen the eyes, you can't use that as, once you've been triggered, you know what I mean? You can leave, you can see where the rest of it comes from. But if you're getting that sense of dread before you've seen their eyes, so it's before you've seen basically the trigger object, then there's a lot more to it than just their eyes.
His screen's frozen at a good point. He had his finger in his eye. Some say that with the white-eyed children, they attribute them to being messengers of death, as they're often appearing prior to deaths of some of the witnesses at noon. To let them know maybe they're warned of impeding death, or
then with history, like medieval history, people that we class as albino today, they have white eyes, white hair, pale skin. But back in medieval times, they were classed as evil and they were tortured to death pretty much. Mm. So could these white-eyed kids be albino?
No, albinos usually have like a pinky colour eye, dark pinky sort of colour eye.
Well, they're saying
true albinos
or a very
fully ocular albino.
Well, from what I can find, they're saying this is about the same time period as the black-eyed children, which have been in from 80s to 90s. I'm not saying they couldn't have gone further back. That's just all I can find at the moment.
Jeremy.
Hey!
They didn't have internet back then.
No, don't stick your finger up there, mate.
Look at this guy right here. Strapping young lad.
We're not talking about strapping anything up when we're looking at that picture.
I don't know. Look at the face that one there's pulling over there. Oh no, it's gone.
But yeah, Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I've there's so much you want to say, but it starts overflowing your head, and you just can't get anything from the brain to the mouth.
Yeah, well, you start to think of one thing and start to say one thing, you're like, hang on a second, no, we've gone over that, or nope, that doesn't make any more sense anymore.
No. Like I said, I've never heard of them being in groups of any more than 2 or 3. I think 3 is the most I've heard.
They do say the duos, the Black Eyed Children, are predominantly groups of 2.
2 is the usual thing, yeah, and there's usually an older one and a younger one.
Yeah, whereas White Eyed Children is singular. They're not in groups.
No.
It's
we've only got about 8 minutes left.
That's different. It's but we've gotten in that group of talking into something interesting, and that's just kind of taken it away.
This is the problem when you record a show. You need to get everything fully prepared. Now, we get stuff prepared, and then we have things like computers that die or something comes up. And then, inevitably, because we are so interested in the paranormal, one little thought process in a different direction just leads us completely off the path.
we did okay to kind of keep it to path for most of the segment.
Yeah, we wheeled out here and there, but we sort of found our way back to the path.
To be honest, I think if we tried to script it any harder than what we had, it just wouldn't be us.
No.
I'm not saying that we can't tidy up in areas. But I can't say we can't. I'm not saying we can't tidy up in areas. But, yeah, if we didn't have that detour come back to it, wouldn't be us.
Look, we're only 9 or 10 episodes in, so we're still learning all of this as we go. I mean, give it another 9 or 10 episodes and we'll be probably the same, but hopefully a little bit more polished.
I'm going to get myself a nice big red Chesterfield that sits up about yay high.
Oh, we'll start calling him Winston.
That was the name of my rat that died.
So take it down. Take it down a notch now. Total bomber to that.
Yeah, it was. I was happy with that. Yeah. Yes, Chesterfield.
But yeah, where I'm going from now is, like I told you, this film that's just come out, it'll make you wonder that people who watch it go, yeah, let's start going out knocking on doors with some contacts, you know what I mean? It could start a whole spate of sightings again now that it's been...
Like it did with the killer clown.
That's what I was just going to say, like that thing a few years ago with all the clowns turning up everywhere and doing silly stuff.
Yeah.
Back in our days, once were warriors.
No, we're not hitting females and telling them to make eggs.
Once were...
No, I'm talking about the warriors, remember, with the bottles on the fingers?
Yes.
Oh, not Once Were Warriors with Tamura Morrison in it.
Yeah, you got the second one. It was Once Were Warriors, now we're scaffolders.
yeah, the Warriors, as in come
Sorry,
out
Junior.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, but you look at the Black Eyed Children. If it's to catch on again as a fad, I suppose a fad's probably not the best word to use. But cannot people giving power to that all in one time conjure something up?
Well, that goes into that whole manifestation thing.
That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, that's another thing entirely, isn't it?
It is. If enough people with a singular mind do the same,
and there's been studies on it as well,
which in many respects is like what we did not long ago when we did the
Skywatch
CE5 stuff and whatever. The Skywatch night. That was.
That's what
it's the stuff that Stephen Greer.
So you look at those, Gary. Look at those black eyes right there. Look at that, and he's smiling.
Yeah, I'm right next to him as well. So
stop looking at me.
Oh, my eyes are just as bad in that one. But again, that was just a normal night vision. I mean, eyes always look weird in night vision. Yes, they do. But what's to say that some people who've taken photos, their infrared filters gone cactus or something like that? Not that there are any photos. There aren't any real photos, so we can't even use that as an excuse.
Well, no, there's nothing. Yeah.
But yeah,
no recorded documentation or anything.
Well, there's no recorded documentation of people inviting them in and surviving or not surviving. Full stop. There's
And
been people writing stories on them coming to the house, but nothing at all about them coming in.
yeah, and that's why I said at the start of the show, I would class this under the urban legend, or again, you can throw it under several different banners, but
Creepypasta.
yeah,
I just like pasta.
maybe that's what we have to create our own little thing. If we can't explain it, it falls under the creepypasta.
Well, you know what creepypasta is, yeah?
No, we don't need explanations.
No. I'm being serious. It's an actual subcategory.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. You learn something every day.
They're like they're horror-related legends that have been shared around the internet, like a campfire story. Instead of campfires, it's internet, because people these days really don't want campfires anymore because they burn each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, before we go as well, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up is Jeremy, Jay, and myself, we're going to actually start going out and we're going to capture some pretty cool stuff. We're going to go to some creepy places. We're going to probably get ourselves in a bit of trouble, but we're going to record the whole lot and be prepared to see a few
I love trouble.
specials pop up from time to time.
How loud do you reckon the bikes will be on that tunnel that we go to?
Oh, I'm
They're
not
not
through that tunnel.
called a tunnel. It's a music hall.
Yes, a music hall.
No, I'm not talking about the poly pipe. I'm talking about the one in the hills. No, not allowed to.
I'm not even gonna go into the story that happened there one time.
Well, I didn't want to mention
I'm
place
just not
names
going,
because
but-
that could really incriminate us. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yes, yes, something happened there once. And let's just say the noise was that big that stuff started falling from the ceiling, and I thought, holy crap, we might have just started ourselves an avalanche or cave in of some sort. So I thought, nah.
Well, you know how your bike's fairly loud.
My bike, when I used to work in the city, I would park in the car park underground underneath the building, and if people would tick me off that day, I would give a bit of a burp when I fired it up, and I'd usually set off about 6 or 7 car alarms.
So I think your bike, but about 3 times as loud. I can get one of those down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid loud.
Oh, I mean, mine's loud, but I think Jay's is probably pretty close.
Oh, this thing is ridiculous. You hit second and stomp on it.
Yeah.
It's ear piercing. Even if you're on another bike with a helmet on listening to music.
Yeah, well, I used to ride with a mate, and he actually, Jay has met this guy when you did that little bit of extras work in that movie that you were in.
Oh, yeah,
You know the guy I'm talking about? Well,
Yeah.
I was riding out of Fremantle with him once, and the police pulled us over just because they wanted to go over his bike. But as soon as he realised they'd turn around, he bloody turned his bike off, so all they could hear was mine.
Smart
And he
man.
rolled up to a standstill, and it ended up just being a license check. But he entered that bike into 3 or 4 competitions, and he always won the loudest pipes awards. And it was a night rod, so it's not
It's a Porsche.
it's a night rod. I mean, this was before the V rod even came out. This was way back, but yeah, pretty loud. So mine is definitely not the loudest bike out there. But yes, we will be getting some footage riding on our bikes, and we've got all the cameras, so we're gonna put together a few pretty cool specials.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Wait.
second thinking this solo seat now with the Springer. It looks cool.
Anyway.
Practicality, don't know.
We've hit our time limit, guys. So we're going to have to say goodbye. So, yeah, I know. We could keep going. But we'll have something else for you next week. It's probably more of the same old, well,
Same old.
Gary, Jay, and Jeremy crap.
Oh, yeah, because it's so enthusiastic.
We've got to start building our listeners. We've got at least 20.
Yeah, hey, look, 20's better than 5.
It is. So, anyway, I think we're going to call it now. And if you guys want to say your goodbyes, I won't cut you off.
No worries. Well, everybody keep it spooky.
Jay.
Believe.
Oh, that was a really bad Chinese movie moment, that one. And I will
It
just
was.
say,
See you later, guys. Have a good one.
Oh, I've got the neck sweat going on from my pillow.